and welcome back to Bookish Theories. In today's video, we'd like to talk about ENHYPEN's Bite Me, focusing on a little breakdown of both the lyrics and the music video to see what they can tell us about the concept and story of this comeback. Since the video is connected to Dark Moon the Blood Altar, as always, please be aware that this video will contain spoilers for all the available versions of the story. So now that we got that out of the way, let's jump right in and see what's going on. Now, as we know, Dark Blood is a concept album that tells a story of love and fate. So as the title track, Bite Me not only embodies the essence of the concept as a whole, but is also thematically connected to the other tracks. According to the press release, the song tells the story of a boy who reunites with his fated lover, only to realize that they are destined to be connected by blood. Remembering a forgotten past that they used to share, the boy is ready to give up all his power to sacrifice himself to the person he's devoted to. Embracing the fate that he chose, he invites them to kiss him and bite him, because that blood connection will save him from the oblivion he endured up until now. He's tortured by the longing of a love that he forgot, so the boy offers himself up to a somebody that will make him feel alive after an eternity of undead wandering. Now, this is a concept that very much fits the events that take place in the Blood Altar, but in more ways than one, Dark Blood takes the core elements of Dark Moon and modifies them to create another story that can also stand on its own. Because of that, Bite Me cannot tell two stories at once, one that is connected to Dark Moon and the other that is unique to the concept of Dark Blood. In Dark Moon the Blood Altar, for instance, ENHYPEN played the role of vampire lords. Once upon a time, they were the loyal knights of a princess called Selene, which is a name that actually recalls the Greek personification of the moon. Princess Selene is a very powerful entity with divine powers. She is said to inherit shamanic powers from her mother the queen, but is also worthy enough to receive the blood of Varger, which is a wolf god that makes her the first ever vampire lord. Like we saw back in Drunken Days, the boys became vampires because they were given the blood of the princess, but to protect them from the greedy Chancellor Dardan, the princess also decided to share her own powers with the seven knights. On the night of her mother's death, Selene was supposed to free the powers locked in the Blood Altar and ascend to the throne, but the Chancellor staged a coup and defeated the knights. To save Ellie's life, the princess sacrificed herself and died in his place, so her death essentially set the entire story into motion. In order to save the knights, the princess instructed the vampire lord Marge to send the boys to the future and protect them until the day she would be reborn. The plan works, but the seven boys also end up losing all memories of their past. They don't know who they are, what is their purpose, why they are vampires, and their only connection to the past is a series of mysterious dreams about a princess they don't really recognize. This, however, changes the moment they meet Sua, which, unbeknownst even to her, is the reincarnation of the lost princess. Their encounter reminds them of their true fate and purpose, and like in Bite Me, the reunion makes them realize that they're destined to be connected by blood. Now, even if the video is heavily focused on the performance, the narrative is connected to Dark Moon in very subtle ways. Shot in Poland, the MV uses the ruins of Krzysztofor Castle as the beautiful backdrop of the story. This spectacular setting, however, also alternates with a castle setting that is still intact, and this contrast between the castle and the ruins implies a comparison between past and present. At the beginning, for instance, the video opens with the members in the castle, and as they look up to the moon, they end up laying in a bloody field as an eclipse makes the sky turn red. As they lay to rest, their bodies disappear into seven coffins that appear out of nowhere, and before we know it, the coffins teleport right above the ruins of the castle where they eventually wake up. Now, if we try to apply these visuals to the story, I think that what we're seeing here refers to the moment Selene dies and the vampire lords get sent to the future. Right at the beginning, the boys are in the castle, meaning that at this point we're in the past because the walls are still intact. They first look down as if staring at a body, and then look up at the moon, which might actually be a way to show that Selene, that is, the woman named like the moon, has finally died. Selene's bloody death is also visually foreshadowed by the blood moon, which, fittingly enough, also overlaps with the defeat of the knights themselves. If we take a look at the way the webtoon portrays their defeat, the seven of them lay in a circle in a pool of their own blood, and this is actually very similar to the pose we find them in at the beginning of Bite Me. When they get teleported, however, the members find themselves in the present, so the castle that was once inhabited by the princess is now in ruins because centuries have gone by. As they awake, their memories begin to come back, and in the lyrics they imply that it's their blood connection that actually pushes them to remember. Their memories are in their their veins. It's the blood that holds the key to their past, and as their cells scream to reunite, they finally rediscover the fate that brings them together. As they remember the past, their devotion and loyalty for the princess is reignited stronger than ever. Like we see in Dark Moon, they believe that they were born to protect her and live to save her, so it's no surprise that in the lyrics they say that their destiny is to be sidekicks that worship her, because in the story that's exactly what we see. Longing to re-establish the connection that they had in their past life, the boys begged their loved one to save them by biting them. Now in Dark Moon, the 7 knights were never actually beaten by the princess because they received their blood through transfusion. In the webtoon, however, Ailey asks Sua to bite him both on chapter 15 and on chapter 60, and in this context, the biting has a very symbolical meaning. In chapter 15, for instance, Sua is opening up about her fear to be a vampire, and when she tells him that Chris allowed her to bite him when they were children, Ailey tells her to bite him too as a show of trust. Sua is embarrassed by this request because they are no longer children and that would cross a line, but a few chapters later, when she discovers that Ailey himself is a vampire, she begs him to bite her to prove her trust. Because of that, them asking to be beaten is the ultimate symbol of trust, but as the story continues, it also becomes a symbol of love. Now, without spoiling too much, because that part is still locked and I don't want to get sued, in chapter 60, Sue is very much going through it, and Ailey begs her to bite him once again as he's terrified to lose her. Even if in the past she rejected him because biting him would cross a line in their relationship, now he's asking her to bite him precisely for that reason. It's no longer just about showing trust, it's about revealing his true feelings, because he straight up admits that biting her neck made him feel some type of way. After all they went through together in this life and the last one, the bite is a representation of the trust they share, the love that they have for each other, the attraction they feel, as well as the desire that they have to completely give themselves to the other person. This is why in the song they also go from bite me to devour me. Drinking their blood is not even enough to quench the thirst, so by the end they linger among the ruins, completely overcome by the red light. Now, even if Dark Moon has a lot to do with this comeback, as I mentioned before, Bite Me is also part of the Dark Blood concept, which is not really connected to Dark Moon, but is more Dark Moon adjacent. This is a story that uses the same details of the lore, it was created with the same elements, but it can also be enjoyed as a standalone. This parallel story was first introduced with a concept trailer starring Sunghoon as the protagonist, but just to be clear, the boy that they talk about in the album is pretty much played by every member. This is why in Bite Me, for instance, we see all of them dancing with the girls. This is the story of a boy and his lost lover, so all of them play that role and they all tell this story as one. As anticipated by the narrator in the trailer, this is a story about pride and oblivion. It's about love, sacrifice, fate, and it's precisely from the song Fate that this story actually begins. In the spoken intro of the album, the members tell the story of boys blinded by the sun as they were running towards absolute power. In their quest to complete their future, they met a special somebody who trusted them and gave them power. Now, if in the story this person is obviously their lover, in the reality of ENHYPEN's life, this entity is obviously Engine themselves, who decided to trust them and give them the power to fulfill their destiny. The moment they were beaten by this powerful entity, their significant other became a part of them, but as time went on, love became greed and erased itself. The selfishness of the protagonist even erased the memory of their loved one, and little by little they became trapped in the deep waters of oblivion. As the off version anticipated, this is a curse that transformed them into a monster that couldn't even die but only wander, so they lost themselves without even remembering why. After traveling through time and space, however, they finally emerge from this oblivion, and as they do, the mark on their neck reminds them of the fate they devoted their life to. Led by the connection created by blood, the protagonist is reunited with his lost love and eventually begs them to kiss them and bite them. In that way, they can re-establish the bond they shared in the past and be saved, but in order to be saved, they have to sacrifice themselves to their own lover. They need to be devoured, they need to be eaten up, because that is proof of their allegiance to the fate they share. As we discover in Sacrifice, giving themselves to their lover is the only thing that can save them from being swallowed by the river Lethe, which is the river of forgetfulness of Greek mythology. In Shakon instead, we see the aftermath of this choice. They get intoxicated by their dance of death, and as they embrace the curse of their monstrosity, they invite their lover to dance for them and match their movements. In Bills, the regrets and suffering suffering caused by this lost love are compared to bills that they have to pay. But in karma, they conclude that they don't give a what about what people say because they know that their fate is connected to their lover forever. After crossing space and time and defying all expectations, their karma is in the blood that connects them. Since the day they were beaten by those fangs, they are bound by the blood that they were given and that was taken. So no matter what people think their destiny should be, they know that their fate is with the person that they love. To know how this story will continue, we'll have to wait and see. But in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please think about liking and subscribing. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.